So it's a great privilege for me to minister to you this morning. There's a man, and maybe you've heard this, there's a man who said, they one day asked him, why do you, everything this man preaches, everything he teaches in his ministry, always had one theme. Everything he said and everything he ever read from the Bible and what he ever preached came back to one thing. And they said to him, why is it that everything you preach about always includes, and it's always about the love of God? And his response was, but is there anything else to preach about? So I want to quickly just have you imagine this. Who of you have been to P&A lately? You know that, or a library, you know what, we don't have libraries nowadays, but can you imagine every sermon you have ever heard in your life? Every teaching you have ever heard in your life? Every little post that you received on a WhatsApp every morning, die Here has met jou en hy gaan jou vandag seën, and everything you've ever received in your life, every topic ever preached is organized in topics and alphabetical order like you would at a P&A shop or a library. You have the different categories and all the books are there, and it's from A to Z and it's all there. And we have heard so many messages. We have experienced so many things. And all of that is wonderful and all of that is great. But now I want to share this with you. If you need to give the shelf that those books stand on a name, that bookshelf will be called. So here's all the topics, right? But on the bookshelf, the shelf will be called the love of God. Because everything ever written in this book, there's one message. Not a message that you need to serve the Lord because you're going to go to hell. A message because there's a God who loves you so much. Don't you want to give your life to Him? And just love Him back? That's it. You see, and this morning what I want to present to you is this. You can choose in your life to live a life that loves the law. And by the law, I don't just mean the law of Moses. I mean rules. If you obey, you will be blessed. And if you disobey, you will be cursed. If things goes right in your life, it's the Lord. If things goes wrong, it's the devil. And most of the time, it's probably because you've done something wrong. You can choose as a child of God to live that way and to believe, I want to live a life that says, I love the law, I love rules. Everything needs to be explained to me. I need to understand why I'm going through this. I need to understand what is happening. Or you can choose to live a life as a child of God that says, I live my life according to the law, one law of love. Big difference. Let me say that again. Many children of God live their lives according to a love for the laws. Right or wrong, please explain, I need to understand. But we can live a life that says, I live according to one law, the law of love. You see, friends, everything that is ever presented to you should not be serve the Lord or else. Love the Lord, serve the Lord or else. Do something for Him or else. You better obey the Lord or else. I think we should rather serve the Lord because, wow, He loves me. And while I didn't deserve it, He proved it. And it doesn't matter what I do, it's not going to change. Doesn't matter where I'm going to go, it's not going to change. Does not matter what I am going to do, it's not going to change. Is it Jack Winter Dries that said, Jack Winter said, he lived with Andries a while and he was ministering in the church years ago and he lived with Andries and he said one day, nothing you can do can make God love you more. But nothing you can also do can make God love you less. Now, when I say that, immediately to some of you in your mind, you say, not a tikkie. Jaco, is ek daai ou vloek wat voor my inry. Jaco, if I shout at my wife or kick my dog because he weed on the carpet, or Jaco, if I just do something wrong, if I go and take a drink and maybe it's one too many, or Jaco, you don't understand, I still smoke and I still have a problem with cursing. Jaco, the Lord can't love that. The Lord can't love me. You must understand, I'm now far from Him. I want to tell you this. Now, I'm not going to preach about this. I'm just laying a foundation. You know this. You know this, but let me say this to you. If you go and live that way, there's obviously consequences. But it does not say the Lord loves you less. Nothing you can do can change who He is. We change, but it cannot change who He is. So if the Father says, I have loved you while you were still a sinner, tell me, if you go and then do things, do you think He stops loving you? The message and the answer is no. Everything comes back. He loves you. And is there consequences? Yes. That's why we don't carry on living the way we're living. We want to change. We make certain things. But we don't do it because we are afraid of getting a punishment. We change because we have experienced and received a love that we can't understand. And many times things happen in our lives. And we find ourselves in a place and we don't understand. But I want to share with you this morning, and this is the theme of my message. God is always at work. Listen, God might not even have caused what you're going through. Because again, this is a challenging your mindset this morning. If things go wrong, it's because I've done things wrong. That's why things are wrong. Now the Lord is testing me, or the Lord is punishing me, or something. Or God is allowing the devil to now test me, like He did with Job. And we have such a default that when we find ourselves in a specific situation, we immediately want to default back. What did I do to deserve this? And what can I now do to fix this? I want to tell you, I don't understand why we go through what we go through. One thing I've learned in my life is I don't know. I don't have all the answers, and I don't think anyone has. If anyone presents to you that they can tell you why and what, it's not true. No one knows. Honestly. Can it be God for sure? Can it be the devil for sure? But sometimes it can be you. But one thing remains the same. In everything, He's always at work. He's always looking after you. He's always busy working it out for you for the good. If you want to accept it or not is different. But God is always at work. You don't believe me this morning, but that's okay. In John 15, I've shared this before, I just want to share it quickly again. In John 15, we find 3 parables. Right? There's a parable about a lost sheep. Jesus speaks and He says, if you have lost a sheep, a shepherd has 100 sheep and one is lost, will he not go after that one sheep? And when he finds it, brings it back, celebrate and be excited. What happens to that sheep, friends? He takes that sheep, he puts that sheep back into the flock, and that sheep continues eating the grass. Just carries on living. Is that right? The second parable in John 15 speaks about a woman who has a couple of coins and then she loses a coin. And Jesus says, will she not move around the furniture and sweep everywhere to find this lost coin? And when she finds it, she will be so excited and she will rejoice and tell everyone, I have found my lost coin. Tell me, what happens to that lost coin when it's found? Takes that coin, goes back into the purse. And Jesus is telling these stories, and then he comes to the third story that we're all very, very familiar with. The story about the lost son. A father had 2 sons, and one son said to him, "Give me my inheritance, I want to go." And this son leaves, and he just goes off. Please understand that son always remains a son. Know this. The son at a certain point feels he is not even worthy to be called a son. He says, "I'm rather going to go back to my father and tell him I just at least want to be a servant." But he never stopped being a son. That's just by the way. Okay, the son comes to the father. And what does the father do? And Jesus takes these parables, he takes it to a next level. He says there was a sheep that was lost. If you find the sheep, goes back into the flock and just carries on. If there's a coin that was lost, finds the coin back in the purse, just goes on. But then he escalates and he says, now we're talking about a father whose son is no longer with him. Still a son, but no longer with him. And then that son returns. And what does the father do? I want to say this to you. When God the Father forgives, he always gives. Let me say that again. When God the Father forgives, he always gives. The son comes back. He says, "I'm not even worthy to be called a son." The father says, "I don't care where you've been. I don't care what you've done. Don't tell me about all of that. I don't care how you feel. What you do are not changing who I am. You are my son and I'm your father. Here's a ring on your finger." And he restores his identity. Here's a robe. And he clothes him immediately. And he bends down and he puts sandals on his feet. And he brings him in. And they have a feast. The father is not concerned about what the son has done. The Bible does not say the father first inquired of him, "Now, why did you leave my house? You see, I told you shouldn't do that. You're going to get in trouble. Let me help you not to make this mistake again. So let's go through what was the cause of the problem, what made you do it, and let's now fix it." The father didn't do that. He's not interested in that. Is it sometimes important? For sure. But that is not the focus. The focus is Jesus wants to tell us a story. That there's a Father in heaven who says, "I do not care what you do. I care about you." Is it important what we do? Sure. But there's a God who's always at work. And when he's at work, we don't always seem to see and understand what he's busy with. But we need to find a place in our lives. And this is what a scripture I want to take you to this morning. We need to find a place in our lives where we say, in spite of what is going on, God, even if I have gone on to do my own thing, and I have ended up in trouble like the lost son. Because you see, doing your own thing will make you end up in trouble. But you still remain a son. And the father still remains a father. So there's consequences for our actions. But we so get stuck in what we do and why we did this and how we must fix it that we miss the message. He's still a father who gives when he forgave you. He gave you, he restores immediately. And he doesn't restore, ek het nou dit, en nou het ek gevloek, en nou is ek nie meer, I'm a son of God. Now I did something wrong. I'm no longer a son. Now I must confess to become a son again. And then I do something wrong again. And we can just carry on and carry on and carry on and carry on. That's not how it works. The son remained a son all the time. He felt he wasn't. He was in trouble where he ended. But the father was still his father. And when he came, the father immediately just didn't even worry. He was always a son. And he treated him like a son. Immediately, he's restored. He's treated as a son. He's not even restored from this to that. He is just a son. And that is how he's treated. I want to read you a scripture in John 13 this morning. In John 13, let's just start at verse 1. Story that you're very familiar with. I'm going to read it to you. Now, before the feast of Passover, when Jesus knew that his hour had come, that he should depart from the world to the Father, having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end. And supper having ended, the devil have already put it into the heart of Judas Iscariot to betray Jesus. So the thought was already there, but look at this now. Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands, and that he had come from God and was going to God, Jesus rose from supper. He laid aside his garments. He took a towel and put it around his waist, around himself. Look at this. After that, he poured into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet and to wipe them with a towel with which he was girded. Then he came to Simon Peter, and Peter said to him, Lord, are you going to wash my feet? Now quickly see the story. Here's Jesus. He's been with his disciples for 3.5 years. Jesus has done miracles, and he has started revealing to them, I am the Son of God. And the disciples started acknowledging that. He's this God in heaven. He is God incarnated. He's a God, the Father and the Son and the Spirit is one. And here he is, being with his disciples, having everything the Father has been given to him. He has all authority, all power to do anything he wants. I want you to understand this. The Son can do, he has all authority that the Father has. This is God. Jesus is God the Son. And he bows down and he washes his disciples' feet. He comes to Peter, and Peter says, are you going to wash my feet? Now, this does not make sense. Now, you've heard many preachings and many sermons on this message. Why did Jesus wash his disciples' feet? And one of the biggest teachings and biggest things you've heard was, he goes on and he says later in John 15, he says, greater love has no man than to give his life for his friends. Is that right? He goes on in John 16, just one chapter later, he says, I'm not going to leave you orphans. God the Father loves you. He sent me to show you his love. And we're not going to leave you. We'll even send you the Holy Spirit. He's going to say that in the next chapter. He's not going to leave us orphans. And the message we heard about this is greater love has no one than this, than to lay his life down for his friends. Like Jesus is about to do. He's about to give his life for his friends. He's about to lay down his life. And the master is saying, I did not come to be served, but to serve and to give my life. So I'm going to wash your feet. I'm going to humble myself and show you that this is not about me. It's what I want to do for you. It's why I am here. I am not here for me. I'm here for you. And he comes to Peter, and Peter says, are you going to wash my feet? And this is what I want to get to this morning. Jesus answered and said to him, what I am doing, you do not understand now, but you will know after this. Let me say that again. What I am doing, you do not understand, but you will know after this. You see, sometimes we go through those, we find ourselves in this space in life, this place, and we don't know why this is happening. We don't know why this is going on. But Jesus says, you might not understand what is going on. I am at work. I'm busy with something. You see, he was trying to tell them all the time that I need to die for your sins. They couldn't grasp it. They couldn't understand it really. They were struggling the whole time. When he came to Peter and said to Peter, I'm going to do this, Peter says, not the tiki. I will kill them whoever wants to touch you. The disciples didn't get it. And he's humbling himself, washing their feet to show them, I'm doing this for you. And you might not understand what I'm doing. You might not understand, but you will. You see, God is at work. You see, when God appeared to Abraham and Sarah and said to Abraham, you're going to have a son. Sarah couldn't conceive. She couldn't have children. Is that right? She couldn't have children, church. But God was already at work. You see, when Jacob stole his birthright from Esau, he was afraid how his brother would react, and nothing happened. And from Jacob came Joseph. Who was Joseph? One of his sons, who eventually ended in Egypt, who was able to help the Israelites when there was a 7-year famine. You see, when Joseph is sold by his brothers into slavery, God was at work. Can you see this? When when the angel appears to Mary and says to Mary, you're going to be with a son. Mary says, but this can't be. I've never ever been with a man. But God is at work. There's a plan. He's busy with something. He's using the situation. When Stephen is thrown before Saul, who was persecuting the Christians, and Stephen is thrown before him, and Saul is the one who must say, kill this guy. And he gives approval, and they kill him. God was already at work. Because on his way to Damascus, God appears to him. Wherever you find yourself, God is at work. God might not be the one who caused it. That's not what we focus on. Sometimes we focus too much on that and we miss the message, which is what? God is at work. Working everything out for the good, for those who love Him, for those who trust Him. And even though you are in something and you don't understand, it is important for you to say, guide me, help me, get input from God, speak to Him, read the Bible, speak to people that you trust, and get advice and get guidance. That's important. It's important for people to help us and guide us and direct us. But at the end of the day, it is not to restore you back to sonship. It is not to restore you back to something you've lost. It's to just remind you and bring you back. Don't disqualify yourself while you're going through this. Don't be angry with yourself while you're going through this. Don't allow people, don't get stuck in all the questions. Understand that He's at work. And what He is working doesn't make sense. He says to Peter, you're not going to understand. You will, but not now. Church, you must get this. I'm going slow. I want you to get this. We don't know. You're going through things. I don't know why. Some people have written books and books and books and books and books and books and books. I sat with someone the other day, not the other day, a while back. I sat in the lounge and telling them about the trauma my wife went through regarding her health a couple of years back. Yes, and this lady pulled out a book. This book was so thick. And she went through this book. And she found, like, what is it that your wife was suffering from? Oh, okay, that thing. And then she went, and I tell you, it's a book. You know what? I think what you must do is, you must go and look. There might have been someone who gambled. And because they gambled, they had a problem with gambling in your lineage, in your ancestors. That's the reason for your wife's problem. Now, what's the reason for my wife's problem? A doctor who made a mistake. It was a human error. The first time in his career, ever. He's a top man in the country. He made a mistake. He said that. He acknowledged it. But he's got insurances and all covers. We can't. He made a mistake. Not because of a great grandfather who gambled. Ach, nee man. Nee man. But people will keep us busy, and she was trying to draw me into a discussion that was going to keep me busy for hours to eventually do whatever was necessary to ask forgiveness for my great grandfather who gambled. And now my wife is suffering. But God, who is love, her being in Jesus, died for all her sins. But now we get so stuck. Now, please again, I don't say that certain things can't affect us. Of course, we do things and things affect us. I understand that. There's a place for that. But we get so stuck in that, we miss the message. We look for fault. But there's a God who loves you and who says, you are still my son. I'm reaching out. I'm not angry. I'm not hitting you. So stop hitting yourself. But yes, like it. We keep on beating on ourselves because we've been taught it's because we are not good enough, because we've done something wrong. Do you live by a love for the law, or do you live by the law of love? That's just a choice. You're not going to end in hell, whatever you believe. You can believe what you want, it's fine. But I'm saying we are sometimes unnecessarily burdened because someone is telling me, my great grandmother or father, I don't even know if it's a mother or a father. Pa, wie het gedobbel? Here's my father, 82 years old. Here's my mother, I'm not going to say her age, she's going to give me a hiding. Pa, wie het gedobbel in ons, in jou? Nee, not in my line, Tanet. And now I must go and find registers or whatever to find that great. Ach, niemand Petru, man. You understand? What do we keep ourselves busy? Well, I just need to go before the Lord every day and just say, Lord, I don't understand. Yeah, you want to wash my feet. You say you want to help me, but I'm going through this. Yeah, Lord, but you know what? I just trust you. You love me. And I just want to love you. Whether my wife gets healed or not. If she never gets healed, I'm still going to love him. If she's never going to get healed, she's still going to love him. I'm not going to look for all the reasons that I'm now not good enough. Yeah, man. God is always at work. You understand? God is always at work. Friends, I spoke to a farmer yesterday. I just wanted to understand something about farming because honestly, I don't. I'm not a farmer. People who work on a farm know much more than me, but I found a friend. I said to him, Etienne, please just explain to me, man. If you've harvested for the season, alles is nou klaar, everything is done, and you've taken it away, and you now start planning for the next year, what do you do? What's the process? And he starts taking me through the process. And then I asked him, so Etienne, when is it out of your hands? When are you at that place where you can't do anything about it anymore? You see, that farmer, and that's why I say, please understand me this morning. There's a certain role we play. We can't just do what we want and think there's no consequences. And because sometimes we have done things, we need to go and speak to someone and get advice and get help and get guidance. And we need to deal with certain things. There's a place for that. Like this farmer. So Etienne tells me he'll need to do this, and then he'll need to do that, and then he'll need to do this. And he still needs to do what he has to do. You see, we can't just sit and say, laat God's water nou maar oor God's akker loop. I don't know what the English is for that. Maar help me. I don't know. Okay, maar also, I don't know what that means. It just means I don't need to do anything, it will just happen. You can't do that. We still need to do something, right? But here's the thing. I said to Etienne, so when is it out of your hands? When can you no longer do anything? He says, Jaco, once I've put that seed in the ground, it's verby. He doesn't know when it's going to rain. He doesn't know if it's going to rain. He doesn't know how much it's going to rain. He doesn't know. I'm thinking about Angus Buchan in Faith Like Potatoes. All of us have seen the movie. And when Angus Buchan put those potatoes in a dry season, and he planted them. Listen, millies, you can still see. Daar iets gebeur, Brits, jy kan hom iets sien. Something's happening. Potatoes, apparently nothing. Once it's in there, it's in there. And now it's completely out of your hands. But God is at work. There's certain things we do. We carry on with our lives. But I want to remind you this morning, God is at work in your life. And even though it sometimes does not make sense, and even though sometimes you are stuck with all these questions, and maybe sometimes you need to go to people and you need to just discuss and talk and say, help me, guide me. I'm not seeing the sun. I'm not seeing light. I don't know how to handle. Help me, guide me. We do that. But in all of that, it's not the person helping you. That's why I appreciate that man so much. Because he'll always point you to God. When you speak to that family, it's about a love for God. There's a God who loves you. That's why what you do is so special. Because it's not about step 1 to 10 to get healed. It's about step 1 to 10 to help you understand there's a Father who loves you. There's a Father who hasn't given up on you. And that is what is important. And that is what we need. You see, so we go through things, but it's never to forget. So we go for advice. We do appreciate people. But we always know there's a God who loves you. There's a God searching after you. I'm ending with this. Philippians 4 verse 7. Yes, I'm just trusting, my love, that this message is coming the way I've received it. Philippians 4 verse 7. My wife always says to me, I minister to you now. When I go home, my wife ministers to me. Then I get my preach. Alweer is nog 'n lekker partytjie. Let me read this to you. Philippians 4 verse 7. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. You see, in everything, when you feel sometimes lost like that sheep, remember you are not, but you feel that way. Because you've taken your inheritance and you've gone walking where you were not supposed to go walking. Right? And now you end up like that son. Luister, I've said this before, but if you weren't here, you know why that son went back to his father. You know why? Not because the Lord told him. God didn't appear to him. Hy was honger. He was hungry. That's the only reason. He was sitting amongst the pigs. He lost everything. And he was sitting and considering, yes, ek is so honger. I want to eat some of, maybe I must just eat some of this food. He didn't eat, but he wanted to eat some of the pig's food. And he started thinking, weet jy wat, the servants in my dad's house has it much better than where I'm right now. I'm just going to go back. Because he was hungry. He didn't even think about going there because the Lord is speaking to him. He didn't have a revelation. Hy was honger. And he didn't know where to get money for food. So he said, ek weet, I know there's food in my father's house. But he was still a son. And the father was still a father. Can you see this? And when he came to the Father, and when he just stood there, he stood as a son. He didn't have to say, please accept me as a son. That's why the Father didn't make a fuss. Because he was always a son. Where are you this morning? Where are you at times? Maybe something's heading. Maybe something's coming that's going to challenge you and say, wat the hell het ek nou verkeerd gedoen? Excuse my Afrikaans. But what on earth did I do wrong now? Why am I deserving this? Oh, the Lord must be angry with me. Hy kon niks daarmee te doen nie, nothing. He loves you. He's busy. God is at work. And He'll sort it out for you. And there can come a peace in your heart. You see, you sit here this morning and you're overwhelmed with things. You've lost your peace because you don't understand. Because you're so trying to understand that you miss that He loves you. You miss the bookshelf. You're so looking for the topics. Here, give me net a book. Just give me an explanation. Let me just go and Google something. How to deal with fear. And then you Google how to deal with fear, and 5,720 odd 100,002 and 7 comes up. Messages, and you say to yourself, okay, which one? And then you pick this guy, and this guy says something, and then okay, yeah, I don't like this so much. Let me, now this guy is saying something completely different. Yes. And then at the end, you're so confused. Just like Jacob Zuma is when he had to read the number of the budget. The figures doesn't make sense to you. It doesn't make sense because you can't find it on the shelf. There's not a topic. There's not a book that can explain to you what you're going through. But there's a shelf that says, the Father loves you. He's at work. He's got your back. Friends, hear the heart of God this morning. Please, I pray you do. Never, ever feel like that son. I'm not worthy. He's at work. He's busy changing it around. He's busy drawing you nearer. He's in pursuit of you. He's sending someone to find the coin. He's running after you. Because there's a shelf that says, everything you've heard, everything you think, every reason you want to make sense of this, you won't understand always. He said it to Peter, you won't understand. Stop looking to understand. Find a peace which surpasses all understanding. Find that peace. Is it what you want? Is it what you hoped for? But find a peace because He's got your back. Let's close our eyes, please. Father, in this morning, I can just ask, please, Lord, that you, by your Holy Spirit, that you will take the words and just minister it to every heart according to their needs. You know every heart here this morning. You know what everyone needs. Some people already received. Some people were already encouraged. But I just pray this morning that everyone will just know, God, you love them. You love us. You love us dearly. We are not disqualified. We are not thrown away. God, we need to fix things. Help us. Give us grace. Give us the courage to fix what we need to fix. I want to pray this morning that you will give us courage to fix what we need to fix. To do what we can do. God, we must put the seed in the land. So we will do what we must do. Give us courage to do the right things. Do us courage to do what you ask of us. But then I ask you,